WrestleManiacs, Maniacs. This is the podcast, it's called WrestleManiacs. Adam, Donna, Indy, and Josh. They're now together forever and son. WrestleManiacs. This is the podcast, it's called WrestleManiacs. WWE, AEW, TNA, JPW. WrestleManiacs.
Yes, it is I, WrestleManiacs. Again, it has been a long time coming that I've been doing a Monday Night Raw review. Again, I've had a crazy couple of weeks as mentioned, but you know what? I'm back, baby. And you know what? Tonight we're going to be reviewing Monday Night Raw from last night. Yes, I know I'm about a day delayed, but definitely will be a day delayed on NXT. But Friday night, we're going to have a live right after the show. Let's just call it at 9. Oh, you know what? Let's say 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. We're going to be reviewing SmackDown. But again, for tonight, we're going to be talking about Raw. Tomorrow will be NXT, and then Friday will be SmackDown Live on that same day. So let's get started again with our WrestleManiacs review of Monday Night Raw. So we start out with, again, the highlights of SummerSlam from this past Saturday, and what an event it was. We talked about it, Datala and I, so check that out as well, our review of SummerSlam. But we actually open up with a Gunther in-ring promo, and believe it or not, Gunther comes out with the introduction of Ludwig Kaiser, of course, the Ring General. Again, I can't do it. I wish I could, like Ludwig does. But again, only as he can, introduces Gunther to the ring. Basically, Gunther gets in the middle of the ring saying, pretty much, look, he has made historic strides since becoming Intercontinental Champion, as well as UK Champion, and now the World Heavyweight Champion. And basically says there's no one on the main roster that can stand up to him until we get a surprise. Randy Orton actually comes out and talks about their King of the Ring match and how Gunther, while was named the King of the Ring, there was some controversy whether Randy Orton kicked out at the 2.5 or 2 3/4 mark. And so he challenges Gunther to a battle for the World Heavyweight Championship at Bash in Berlin for the World Heavyweight Champion. And again, to the shock of no one, Gunther actually agrees to this. And now we have our main event set for Bash in Berlin on the Raw side. We will have Gunther versus Randy Orton, which I cannot imagine is going to be anything but the main event in Gunther's home area. Not home necessarily country because he's from Austria, but it will be in Germany, so close enough. We will have, again, Randy Orton versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Champion. And, you know, if you hadn't watched their King of the Ring match, I definitely would recommend you go and check it out. It was a banger of a match, and definitely this is going to be one hell of a match coming up. Poor Randy Orton's chest, I can't imagine how red it's going to be, especially with Gunther's chops. Oof. Randy, I don't know what you're thinking, man. I mean, definitely you are ready to kind of go out in a blaze of glory if your retirement's impending soon, maybe. Who knows? Hopefully not. But again, what a great main event we already have started, and we have a couple of weeks yet till August the 31st. So, again, we start there. Then we get a backstage interview with Sheamus talking about Ludwig Kaiser and basically going to have a banger of a match with Ludwig Kaiser. So we get just that. We have Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. Now, these two have been feuding for a little bit, as Sheamus actually had Ludwig Kaiser taken out essentially with some bruised ribs, with Braun Breaker in the middle of that. So definitely have kind of a grudge match here. And boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, this match, because Raw was commercial free, we had no breaks in the action, and this was nonstop action. I've definitely got to say this was a great match. Again, I'm not surprised given who was involved, but I definitely would say if you could go out of your way to watch this match, this definitely, I would say, would be a pay-per-view quality match on Monday Night Raw. Now, again, we had Pete Dunne try to interfere at the end and actually try to hit Sheamus with the shillelagh. Didn't happen. Sheamus hits him with a running knee and knocks Pete Dunne, kind of sprawls him out on the commentary table, and actually gets the win over Ludwig Kaiser with a brogue kick. Now, again, granted, I kind of think that Ludwig should have won this. I would have liked to see Pete Dunne finally explain why he's attacking Sheamus, maybe being the new member of Imperium. Or, again, I'm still hoping that one day we get Ilya Dragunov being the new member of Imperium, but we'll see, and time can only tell. But again, that's what we get for this match. Again, great match, so definitely go check it out if you can. Then we had a Wyatt 6 promo, and here's the interesting thing. So 11 years ago, a prophet arrived, meaning Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family debuted. Again, this is back in the summer of 2013, but still in the city of Baltimore. So they're really just having all this imagery of, Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas or Uncle Howdy kind of smiling the same way. basically explaining to everyone that this is the continuation of the Bray Wyatt universe, let's just call it. So definitely a good thing to see, and I didn't really realize that it's been 11 years since then, but my gosh, the Wyatts definitely did make a change when they appeared, and here we are 2024, even almost a year after Bray Wyatt's death, and we still have the Bray Wyatt universe going on, and presumably forever. So again, pretty cool little video, definitely doing the dichotomy between the two brothers. So then, of course, the best part, I think, of the night, we get Damian Priest actually calling out Finn Balor. And again, the great thing is really he didn't do this slow entrance. You could tell he was pissed off, walked out to the ring, and his first thing was, Finn Balor, get your ass out here. I'm ready to fight. Let's get this done. You know what's going to come. You know what's coming. On your way, it's an ass kicking. And you know what? This is the Damian Priest I need. Now, it kind of did go into a promo where eventually he talked about how he thought the Judgment Day was his family, but he realizes that all of us fans are really his family. And you know what, Finn Balor, you didn't just screw me out of the title. You embarrassed me in front of my family, and you screwed all of us out of the World Heavyweight Championship. So, of course, without a surprise, Finn Balor does not come out at this time. And we actually have a backstage video of him talking about how Damian Priest a year ago cost him the World Heavyweight Championship, and he'd been biding his time, waiting to screw him over, and said again and again and again, whenever he least expected, he's going to be there to stab him in the back, Finn Balor to Damian Priest, over and over again, so he'll pay for his sins. And so, you know, this was a great segment. This definitely, I think, started the feud between them, and here's the coolest part about it. We not only talk about Finn having a family, he pans out, and we now have the newer version of the Judgment Day, including Carlito, JD McDonough, Dominic Mysterio, and Liv Morgan. So now Finn Balor is the de facto leader, I should say, of the new Judgment Day. And so again, this is the third iteration of the Judgment Day. First, you originally had Edge, Rhea Ripley, and Damian Priest. Edge got kicked out. Finn Balor was brought in. So was JD McDonough. R-Truth kind of comedy-wise, of course, but we definitely have a newer version of the Judgment Day continuing here on Monday Night Raw. So a really great segment. And again, I really like that they're going to keep on with the Judgment Day, believe it or not. So we then go to a backstage segment where Bronson Reed basically says, look, you know, I beat up Sheamus, and, you know, I need an opportunity. And Pierce is, of course, doing his typical Pierce thing. You're going to get an opportunity. Don't worry. Well, Bronson Reed's had enough of this. He's had enough of being interfered with. He's had enough of being screwed around. So he says tonight he's going to make his own path of destruction and make his own opportunity, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And definitely it was quite the way to make an impact. I will say that for sure. Excuse me. And then we get to Lyra Valkyria versus Shayna Baszler. Pretty decent match between these two, and Lyra actually wins by DQ as she hits her finisher on Shayna Baszler. Of course, Stark and Deville jump in, start jumping her, beating her up, and then out comes Damage Control to chase them away. So we still have the Damage Control versus the new unnamed trio of Shayna Baszler, also Sonya Deville, as well as Zoe Stark. So hopefully they'll give them a name soon. So we have Damage Control versus the Devilles, the Devils, whatever you want to call them. I would call them Pretty Mean Sisters or something like that. But again, that's just me. We also then have CM Punk actually coming out and saying he's happy. He's saying despite him losing at SummerSlam, why is he happy? Because he's finally back where he belongs, finally had a match in WWE after 10 long years, is back in Baltimore after this long of time, and basically just says, look, even though he lost, this is now where his road starts. Most people's WrestleMania starts at Royal Rumble, and now he says, you know what, my road to WrestleMania is starting tonight. My new start in the WWE and my new run now starts at SummerSlam. So even though I lost, hey, it's all good. Well, of course, Seth Rollins is not going to forgive the sin of being GTS at SummerSlam, so out he comes. And basically, they don't say anything. You could literally just say, look, if you want me to come in the ring, let's go. Of course, CM Punk says the I'll be your Huckleberry line. And as they're about to fight and get in the ring and start fighting, Drew McIntyre appears in the crowd and basically gloats about the fact that now he's the best in the world. And essentially, look, you two are going to fight. But anyways, just Drew basically putting himself over and says, hey, Punk, because they're not looking at him. The whole entire promo, they are looking at each other and not at him. And finally, he tells, meaning Drew, tells CM Punk and them, hey, I have a way if you can look at me, Punk, and holds up the bracelet with AJ and Larry's name on it. And so, of course, Punk grits his teeth and runs off and chases Drew McIntyre. And, well, here comes the point where, believe it or not, Bronson Reed comes from behind and attacks Seth Rollins. But I don't mean attacks and just like, oh, hits him and runs off. No, no, no. He hit, I believe it was six different avalanche or tsunamis, excuse me, basically a body slam off the, a jumping body slash off of the body slam, whatever it's called, off of the top rope 6 times, basically causing internal bleeding as Rollins is splitting blood, things like that. Almost equivocal to when Earthquake squashed Hulk Hogan in a heel turn. So, again, it was a little bit long-winded. I thought 6 was a little much. Again, I understand the idea of kind of making it to where he's getting his ass kicked and stuff, but it went on for so long that the Rampage, they tried to really make it seem like he was on a rampage, but he really stopped and did 1 or 2, ran off, did 2 more, and then did 2 more again. Now, mind you, all these people are trying to stop him, and all they do is move whenever he hits the tsunami for the 4th time, the 5th time, the 6th time. You got ex-wrestlers in there. Eventually, one of them should be able to push him off and or hold him down. So 6 was a lot, but again, I understand the idea of that Seth Rollins was at a local hospital, not a medical facility, but a hospital, getting x-rays, CAT scanned, and maybe have internal bleeding. So definitely a good way to really put Bronson into a top main feud. Now, will anything come of it? I don't know. Not really sure. But let's see what you guys have to say. Bro says bro. Well, bro, I appreciate the bro. I'm again not really sure where that goes. But hey, hey, bro, how are you doing this evening? Thanks for joining. Now, as we talked about, again, that goes on from Seth Rollins. And now Bronson Reed is now going to feud with Rollins. And we still have the continuation of McIntyre and CM Punk's feud over the bracelet. We then go into a backstage promo with, of course, Karrion Kross talking about how he's offered Woods all these chances to get away from Kofi Kingston, things like that. So that leads to the AOP versus the New Day, which is in a no contest. However, Odyssey Jones, anybody remember him? He was drafted to Raw like 2 drafts ago, I guess. Basically goes in and saves the New Day. Basically, he's able to take up both AOP members at the same time and do a side slam a la Kevin Nash. Somewhere was happy with that. Double at the same time with his strength. So we go to the backstage after this, and Woods is like, hey, Kofi, who's this? How did you guys meet? And he's like, oh, man, that's a friend of us. We worked in rehab. And you can kind of tell that Woods wasn't very happy with being surprised by somebody coming in. Now, don't know if it's a jealousy thing, but it seems like the words of Karrion Kross are starting to slowly but surely get to him. And again, he's starting to question Kofi Kingston's loyalty. Didn't say anything, but again, Woods has such a good way of kind of just raising the eyebrow, kind of looking kind of unsure. So there's going to be something going on there, and I would love to see what's going to happen next on that. Which then this leads us to a grudge match from a SummerSlam setup when Awesome Truth came out and announced the crowd's attendance. A-Town Down basically came out and insulted them. So this is a match from SummerSlam essentially built up. And, A-Town Down Under wins essentially. And really no consequence. This was kind of a filler match, I guess. I don't know if this feud's going to continue or not, but kind of seemed like it was just a way to get A-Town Down Under a win and also make it to where Grayson Waller did not cost Theory this match like he has in the past couple of weeks. So again, decent enough match, but really was nothing going on there. This leads us to our match with Damian Priest versus JD McDonough, which we actually get a really good backstage promo before this match from JD McDonough, basically saying that Priest never believed in him. Now he's official member of the Judgment Day and Priest is out. So basically saying he's going to make him suffer. Well, as you can imagine, JD is a lot of talk, not a lot of walk, because Damian Priest basically dominates the match the entire time. He ends up winning by DQ, and of course, Finn Balor comes from behind, attacks him, and as the New Day is beating him up, out comes Mommy to make the save, chases everybody off, almost puts Liv Morgan through a table, and as she's about to do it, from here, from the ring announcer's position, essentially where she sits, Dominic Mysterio grabs her, runs off with her, and of course, they get in the ring and essentially do a South of Heaven, essentially. And, basically, we got the setup match. We're probably going to get Dom and Liv, I imagine, versus Damian Priest and Mommy Rhea Ripley. So, pretty good segment here. Again, it was really more of a segment than it was a match, but, again, not complaining. Great show so far. So, then we go backstage, and we also have the Damage Control beat up by, again, the trio of DeVille, Baszler, and Starks, and they actually focus on Dakota Kai, end up not breaking her leg, I should say, but kicking her in the leg and beating her up, basically saying, hey, the match is off tonight. We're done. But believe it or not, we actually still do have a match. Again, another one between this faction. We have Sonya Deville versus Io Sky, where actually Io Sky surprisingly picks up the win here. So, again, we get a brawl between them two. Again, we're still getting this kind of feud between this more dominant female faction. Again, I think they're really trying to push the narrative. The three of Baszler, Starks, and Deville really haven't been together that long. I kind of want to see more as Damage Control against the de facto babyface group at this point. A little unclear, but again, hey, it is what it is, so no complaints here. But we then have Sammy kind of looking like he's gloating, or not gloating, but kind of, being sad, upset that he lost the Intercontinental Championship. Enter our brother in Uso, Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso comes up and basically is hyping up Sami, saying, hey, you're going to get your Intercontinental title back. Don't worry about it. Then you and I can go for those tag titles from the Judgment Day. And Sami Zayn kind of acts despondent, but of course jokingly says, no, man, I'm ready. I've got a rematch exactly against Braun Breaker for the IC title. So there is a rematch next week between Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn for the IC title. So again, pretty nice segment. Again, they're still doing the whole, brother thing. So it's okay. Again, I mean, Sami Zayn, neither of them are really doing anything. I'm somewhat hoping Sami Zayn maybe turns heel on this and we get Sami Zayn versus Jey Uso as a feud, because really Jey Uso is going nowhere. Seemingly they've dropped the whole mommy thing as far as I know. So be curious to see where this goes. We then get a backstage segment with Ivy Nile running into Maxine Dupree. Maxine's like, hey, you haven't talked to me in a while. What's going on? And essentially Chad Gable says, hey, you don't need her. And then she shoos the Creed brothers away. So there is this build that, Ivy Nile is probably going to turn on Maxine Dupree and join the new faction. Chad Gable actually berates Maxine and says, look, you know what? Keep the stupid Alpha Academy name. I don't need it. And we get a walking segment from the backstage to the ring, basically where he says, we are now called American Made, which is a great name for this faction of Chad Gable and the Creed brothers, and presumably Ivy Nile. And who knows who else is going to join this. But this leads to our main event of the Wyatt Six, which includes Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, and Dexter Lumis, with Sister Abigail, as well as Uncle Howdy sitting on the outside in the rocking chair, and of course the lantern representing the spirit of Bray Wyatt. And, surprising to no one, the Wyatt Six actually win this match clean. We have kind of a tribute as well in terms of, the ending where they're all kind of standing together and Uncle Howdy's laughing, and that's the end of Raw. Overall, pretty decent show. The opening match was pretty good. Seeing the Wyatt Six do their kind of thing was interesting. I'm not sure how they're going to play into the supernatural, yet they're not supernatural aspect. But overall, a pretty decent show. Again, a lot better than I expected, especially for post SummerSlam. Definitely love the Gunther and Randy Orton in-ring reaction. Definitely waiting to see that match as well. But, that's it for Monday Night Raw. Again, we'll be reviewing NXT tomorrow, again on a delay. Sorry about that all. But I'll definitely be reviewing SmackDown Live as it goes off the air this coming Friday around 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. So that's it for me, y'all. Again, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow night for our NXT review from tonight. Thanks so much.